Alright, welcome back guys. So, in this video we're now going to start going over chapter 2 in the book. So in this chapter we're going to talk about the properties of the subconscious mind, right? So, we're going to talk about the properties for a lot of the book 1, but we're going to talk about the most basic properties of the subconscious. And what I want to talk about in this video is going to be the structure of your intentions. Excuse me. So, the first thing is basically to get kind of a definition out the way. We're basically get out the way that I like to look at it and the way we're going to follow for the rest of the book. So every thought by the negative mind is actually an intention. Now, people might define intentions a little bit differently. Some people might say that it's possible for the conscious mind to have a thought that's not really, they wouldn't describe as an intention. I don't, right? So to me, every thought by your conscious mind to me could be described as an intention. It's something, there's something you intended to do. There's something you intended to do. So even if even if you're adding 2 plus 2, you know what I mean? Like if you're using a conscious mind to be like, I want to add 2 plus 2, that's an intention. You know, you intended to add 2 plus 2, you intended something. So every thought by the conscious mind, to me, is an intention. So that's basically the format we're going to follow for the rest of the curriculum. So I'm just going to use the term intentions to refer to the thoughts from your negative mind, right? So now the thing about intentions is that they have structure to them, and you have to kind of know the structure in order to better understand how to control your subconscious. So intentions are basically like sentences, linguistically. So I assume this to be the case for every language. I don't know other languages though, so I'm gonna say English. Every English sentence has 2 parts. So it has the subject part and has the predicate part. So the subject is basically what the sentence is about, and the predicate part basically makes some statement about the subject. And so that's exactly how your intentions are. Almost, or very similar. I won't say exactly, but it's very similar to how your intentions are. So intentions also have 2 parts. Every intention you produce has 2 parts. So it has the subject part, which is the main point of focus, the intention is directed toward, and it has a predicate part. So it has a part that's like the predicate. So the second part, or the predicate part, is the part of the intention that expresses or asserts some kind of command. So that's important. Basically, every intention has within it a command or an assertion, right? And the subconscious responds to that command and assertion. We're going to talk more about that later. But you're always asserting something or expressing something as a command with your conscious mind. And that makes sense because it's the commander. So in the relationship between the conscious mind and the subconscious, or the negative or the positive mind, the negative mind is the commander. So it's the one in charge. And the subconscious mind is the one that's subservient, or the positive mind. So that's why so it makes sense, at least to me, every thought by the negative mind is actually a command which your subconscious mind is listening to. Now, like I said, this structure, recognizing the structure in your thoughts is very important because the subconscious has a unique response to these 2 parts. So it responds to the subject in a certain way, and it responds to the command in a certain way. And that's very important. We're going to talk more about what the subconscious does in response to the command part. We're going to talk a lot about that in chapter 7, I think. And then the subject part, we're going to talk more about that in chapter 9 and 10. So they're very important in understanding how the subconscious works. So that's why we have to go over this. So it's basically important to always recognize your intentions always have 2 parts. The subject part and the command part. Now, the subject part, another thing I want to say is the subject part basically could be anything. So it's just a point of focus that your conscious mind makes a command towards. So a subject it's kind of like a noun. It could be a person, place, or a thing. It could be concrete. It could be abstract. So even like the idea of like socializing. You know, let's say I hold the intention that I'm going to socialize with a group of people. You know, I like this flickering, but let's say you hold the intention that you want to socialize with a group of people. The command part, the command within that intention says you want to socialize. But the subject, you could say subject is the group of people, but it also can be socialized. And we'll talk, that'll make a little more sense later, but the subject, one of the subjects in that is going to be socialized. You could say, you could hold the intention that you want to win a sports game. You know what I mean? Like you go on the floor, you put on your game face, and you say, yo, I'm about to win this no matter what. In that intention that you're holding, when you express that thought, the subject is going to be the sports game, right? You want to win the sports game. And then the command is will win, So that's just basically simple examples, but every intention in some way could be broken down into the subject and into the command. Again, it's important because the subconscious responds in a very unique way to both parts. If you have an intention, if you try to express an intention without, let's say you express the intention that just says we'll win, right? No subject, no nothing. It doesn't make any sense. It's basically an incomplete sentence. Your subconscious is still going to find some subject in your intention anyway, based on how it works. That again, I'll make more sense later. So you always want to focus on the subject and the command part. And I think that's pretty much it. So this last part, I kind of said already, but intentions can have multiple subjects and commands. So it's basically just like sentences in English. So English sentences can have multiple subjects and multiple commands. I remember when I was younger, right? And this was like mad stupid. But I remember I was younger. This is just an example. I was, I don't know why I was trying to do it. I remember. When I was younger, I was trying to learn a whole bunch of math and science. So I was trying to learn as much as I could, right? In as quick a time as possible. Well, I was trying to learn, I wanted to learn as much as I could in as fast a time as possible. So I started studying, I started reading this book. I used to push carts, right? And I started, I was outside with the cart machine, and I started doing that while also trying to read a book, which was crazy, right? I'm outside in the parking lot with cars and people around, with a machine. I'm trying to do that at work while reading a book. Now, the bosses couldn't see me because I'm outside, which, that was crazy, thinking about it now. That was mad, stupid. But I bring that up to say, when I'm doing it, what I'm doing is I'm holding an intention I'm holding multiple intentions to make sense of the book. Like one intention might say, well, what does this mean? Or what does that mean? I wasn't even ready to study. I was studying quantum mechanics, but I wasn't even really ready because I hadn't, I think I knew calculus, but I never, I was, at that time I only knew of single variable calculus. So I had no idea there was even a such thing as multivariable calculus. I remember when I first looked at the book and I saw it was doing a plane wave. A of x of t equals cosine, or I think it was sine of, what is it? Sine kx minus the angular momentum times t, or the angular frequency times t, something like that. This is not important for the video, but I'm thinking of the past. But anyway, I was reading the book, and so I'm using intentions to make sense of it. So one intention might say, okay, this means that, or this means that, or it might express what does this, which is a question. We'll talk about how those intentions work later. But my other intentions are focusing on the environment around me, because I still have to, listen to this car and make sure I'm not running into this car and stuff like that, or hitting a person. So in other words, I'm producing multiple intentions and focusing on multiple subjects at once. And I say all that to basically, in the simplest sense, to use a political term. What they say in politics, we can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. And so in other words, it's like you're focusing on multiple things, multiple subjects, and expressing multiple commands at once. But now the subconscious is still responding to all of that. So it responds the exact same way to whether it's multiple subjects or one, and whether it's multiple commands or one command. So this is important. Now, for our purposes for now, we're not going to get into the multi-subject circumstance and multiple command circumstance, because it's not necessary. In chapter 7, then we're going to talk much more about circumstances where there's multiple subjects and multiple commands. Because eventually you do got to get to that to truly understand the subconscious. Because you are focusing on multiple subjects all day and producing multiple commands. But for now, in these couple chapters, we're just going to basically try to keep it to circumstances where there's one subject and one command. Excuse me. That's all we need to do to make sense of it for now. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Basically, just as a recap, every thought by the negative mind is an intention. That's how we're going to think of it for the rest of the book and curriculum. And every intention has a subject part and a command part. The subject is basically anything that your mind is focused on while it's asserting some type of command about it. So every intention contains the subject, and every intention contains a command or assertion, right? And, the intention is going to have multiple subjects, but we're going to talk about that later. So that's it. In the next video, we're going to talk more about what I call subconscious association, which is probably very similar to the term association in psychology, but, I define it in my own way as it relates to the subconscious mind, right? So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video.